The protagonist of the play, Werther, is a young man who is tremendously influenced by the thinking of his time. In the play, the protagonist strongly lacks self-control, which leads him on several occasions to commit actions that go beyond the moral limits that should direct his life. Throughout the novel, we can see how Werther makes wrong decisions that lead him, little by little, to give free rein to his emotionality, which will finally lead to two sins. One, giving in to his passions by taking Albert's wife to please his desires and two, making the terrible decision to take his own life. Already from the first chapters, one can notice this lack of self-control by which Werther, even knowing that Lot or Charlotte was already engaged, always seeks her as his emotional companion, which obviously causes his desire to stay with her to increase day by day. Every moment he spends with her, his desire increases until at last he decides to walk away from her, knowing that it would be the wisest thing to do. Here is the first time he demonstrates self-control, contemplating his reality and accepting her as she is with inner freedom. However, when he decides to return to Wilhelm, the city where he was before, he again makes the mistake of not self-controlling himself and not properly respecting the fact that Charlotte and Albert are already married. He continues to give free rein to his passions and deals with Lot with a familiarity and intimacy that is inappropriate, which should only correspond to the relationship of a couple. This, with a good reason, causes Albert to be forced to ask Charlotte to restrict his contact with Werther. At this point, when the young man has already accepted not to self-control his passions, it seems that there is no other choice but for them to lead him to a terrible end, since the moment he decides to give them free rein, it will inevitably have repercussions on his relationship with his friends. Yet, he feels unable to live with this reality. All of this creates within Werther a fiction, that is, an idea that even if it is not necessarily true, the fact that he cannot live without Charlotte limits him to move forward, and it is then when Werther loses the ability to reason his emotions. The idea of suicide will be much easier to accept. Furthermore, despite recognizing this as a sin, emotionally blinds him to the point of not taking into consideration or even appearing to be afraid of it. Unfortunately, the suicide is the culmination of the young man's unfortunate situation, which he began to fabricate from the beginning of the play, since, with the exception of the moment when he accepts that he can never be Lot's husband and leaves town, he was never able to establish a limit to his desire to be with her, progressively losing his capacity for self-control. For me, this is a clear example of how important it should be in the education of young people to learn how to manage their passions emotions, and feelings, so as not to fall prey to them and become an easy target for the sentimentalism that often blinds the reason, and which is particularly present in our modern culture.
Awesome!
If the video was helpful for you, let us know in the comments. Like it, subscribe, and hopefully see you in another video. Bye!